Well, according to these two stories that I brought for you, Nintendo is tightening their belt around not just the consumers, but also the developers. Hey everyone, welcome back. And it is home. It is good to be home from Boston. Rob and I had a killer weekend attending PAX East. And as you can see, nice and comfy. I got my dad's shirt on. It's nice, worn down. It's got a stain on it, but I wanted to talk about these two stories that are circling Nintendo right now. One of them is, as I said, tightening the leash on developers. Now, there's been a leak from a company, Arc System Works. A recent leak has seemingly revealed why so many games on the Switch 2 are using game key cards. And Nintendo's reportedly only offering developers a 64 gigabyte cartridge. Or they can go the game key format. So developers have three options when developing for the Switch 2. They can go all digital. They can buy the 64 gigabyte cartridge, which in another story I read, the blank cartridge alone is $16. Or they can use the game key format that none of us gamers really seem to be all that thrilled about. Now, go on to reading. Considering how popular the original Switch has been over the past decade, you'd think its successor should have been one of the easiest slam dunks in Nintendo's history. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was immediately met with criticism about the specs and the power. I really didn't think it was all that bad for being a handheld. But the biggest thing was the price, and that took gamers the wrong way so bad that on their next showcase for Mario Kart World, the only thing that was being spammed in chat was lower the price. Now, Arc System Works, like I said, they had a hack, and that's where all this information came from. But with some games not being 64 gigabytes and still using a game key card, it raised questions about how accurate that is. Now, yeah, we don't really know the full accuracy. These are leaked, of course. We don't have confirmation from these companies or anything, but you know, it doesn't surprise anybody that this is how Nintendo is being, especially over the last couple of years of how they've been going after a lot of things. And going over here to this next thing, they've upgraded their EULA. Now this highlighted portion here, I'm going to go through and read this real quick. It says, in section 2 of the license, without limitation, you agree that you may not A, publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, lease, rent, decompile, disassemble, distribute, offer for sale, or create derivative works of any portion of the Nintendo account service. B, bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections of the Nintendo account service, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause the Nintendo account service to operate other than in accordance with its documentation and intended use. C, install or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services, or D, exploit the Nintendo account service in any manner other than to use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use in each case, without Nintendo's written consent or express authorization, or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. You may acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the account service and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. They will brick your console. Now, I haven't seen many people point this out because I've read, if you go down here to, I believe it is section 13 here, and this is the part that bothers me about it. Nintendo may terminate this agreement or suspend your access to any or all Nintendo account services in our sole discretion and without prior notice to you. If you violate this agreement, we have a reasonable belief, such as a violation has or will occur, or as we otherwise determined to be reasonably necessary for legal, technical, or commercial reasons, such as to prevent harm to other users or the Nintendo account service. Upon any such it's been a long day. Any such termination or suspension, you must immediately stop using the Nintendo account service. Me personally, I cannot stand when they give themselves that wiggle room of or will occur. They are predetermining before anything has happened. One thing that I've seen people point out a lot is, and they're right about it, emulation itself is not illegal. And one example that I saw being used was, if you modify your Switch to play MP4 videos, that it is not illegal. You're not distributing anything. You're simply modifying a piece of hardware that you own to further its use in other ways. You're not distributing, you're not giving away, you're not selling. But of course, everything has a potential for illegal activity. Everything does. But they've given themselves this wiggle room to say, well, it will occur, even though nothing has technically happened yet. Maybe it's just me. I don't trust companies that much. And I know, I'm not sure if a hypocrite's the right word. I do own a Switch. I do own dozens of Switch games. And in fact, 3/4 of my Switch library is currently on my backlog of games that I need to finish. But this is disgusting, in my opinion, that they've done this. And other stories that I've seen, if you look on Nintendo UK's EULA, it does not say that Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. And from what I was told, UK has different laws. You can't brick a piece of hardware that somebody has bought. The whole Nintendo, it's just gotten real scummy to me, just horrible. You back to this first story, you take, okay, you've eliminated all options for cartridges. Only one though, and they have to pay the big bucks. They have to, I know $16 may not sound much for a cartridge, but if you are trying to sell thousands or tens of thousands or even 100,000 copies of a game, that's $16 per cartridge adds up. So you force them there, or you make them do it digital only. Well, guess what? Now you have to have an active Nintendo account, a family or an individual subscription account, or the game key card, which guess what? You still got to be online to download it to the console. And you'll probably still have to be connected to the internet the whole time just to play it. Now you add in that they can, on a whim, if they decide, if they think, or, you know, how are they even going to enforce this if you take your Switch 2 offline? It's a lot of uncertainty. I know, and there are others who are saying that, you know, this isn't that big of a deal. Sony, in fact, said the same thing when they launched the PlayStation 5. And I have my gripes about that too. Of course, you know, I haven't had anything happen to my account, but I also didn't hear about Sony forcing this on developers. So I don't know. Me personally, I'm not buying a Switch 2. I feel there's no reason for me to buy one. Just because I'm not a huge Mario Kart player. Yeah, I have 8 and I play that with my daughter from time to time. But like I said, I got a backlog that I have to keep me busy for a while. So Let me know what you guys let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. And even if you didn't, go ahead and hit that thumbs down. Even though, like I said, Rob and I were at PAX, I am going to watch the showcase again for Magic the Gathering and Final Fantasy, because Rob and I got something we want to throw together as lifelong Final Fantasy fans. We are kind of excited, and we've been playing around with Magic to get a feel for the game. So I'm going to go watch that. I'll catch you guys later.